Globally, businesses and corporations are faced with challenges that requires fresh thinking on strategy, leadership, and governance to survive. The Anchor is a program designed to help organizations and individuals to be skilled in handling challenges. Join Dr. Osare Emokai, a development economist and a corporate strategist, for this interactive, informative, educative program.
It is my pleasure to welcome you to today's episode of The Anchor. My name is Dr. Emokai, and your usual host. I'm really delighted that I'm here today and you are there to listen to us and to view us and to be a part of this episode. Before we just have a short break, let me introduce Mr. Anya, the man with the very beautiful and expensive jacket. He's a strategic planner and researcher who is the deputy rector of a Jones School of Management, as well as the director of Mindshare Communications. But we then have the Baba in Mindshare Communications, Mr. Ebi, who is the vice chairman, the Mindshare Group, made up of Mindshare Communications and Mindshare Data Tech. We go for a short break, and we'll be back, very shortly.
Globally, businesses and corporations are faced with challenges that requires fresh thinking on strategy, leadership, and governance to survive. The Anchor is a program designed to help organizations and individuals to be skilled in handling challenges. Join Dr. Osare Emokai, a development economist and a corporate strategist, for this interactive, informative, educative program.
So thank you once again for joining us. In secular literature, we discussing Mark, sometimes they say, this thing, is it in alignment with the word of God? Is it in alignment with whatever? God is a God of creation. He was the one who created heavens and earth. And so he also gave us power to be able to create. By giving us and say you can name, any name you give, that's it. So for us to be creative, anybody who is creative is of God. And where do you start when you have to create something in a brand? One of the things where you start is giving a name. Also, like giving a name to this program, we call it Anchor. There's another program called the Where the Place. So whatever you do must be in alignment with your name. In fact, actually build equity in that name. And that's the way brands are done. And in some way, Anchor is not a brand. The Where the Place is a brand. And people who go in there, they know exactly what they're expecting because of what is delivered there. That's why we are want to start with the name, the brand name. Deciding on a brand name can be a very difficult process. It can be a difficult task to get it right. It is usually helpful to have a clearly defined story. And you find some of the very best things on earth, come through story. And I'm not surprised that even Jesus Christ always used stories to teach principles. And that's also the same thing with brand name. This requires solid preparation and work to achieve this. Is laid out step by step within this brand management process. So within the brand management process, step by step, when you have been through the exercise of discovery, positioning, including various elements required to build a new brand, you have your brand values and, of course, the brand pillars completed. You are ready to start the naming process. That is where you are. You need to name the baby now. Okay, and give the baby a prophetic and a good name that can see the baby to go far. There are a number of steps to follow to ensure you get it right, so you don't get it wrong. However, in essence, your brand name is your story distilled to its shortest form. Your brand name is your own story. So when you see brand names, I remember one of my children, he gave himself a name, and he liked the name. He gave himself, I think is a Latin name. He gave himself Devontae. He gave himself a Latin name. I was trying to find out, And I told him, I said, the name we gave to you is very prophetic. I said, that's the name we gave to him, myself gave that name to him. And it means, whatever good you do, you must get your return. That is the, whatever good you do, you get your return. But he then chose that name. But he said, Daddy, I still accept the one you gave to me, which is a beautiful thing. So name is your story. It's capturing your story. So when I see some people call themselves stone, some say wood, I say, what kind of a story is there? That means life will be hard for them. And nobody say I'm stone. Some say I'm wood. Some people say I'm black. Something darkness is not a good thing. We want light. So getting a brand name is very, very important because it talks about your story. It summarizes your story, maybe in one word. That's name. And that is why in brand management, getting a brand name can be very, very difficult and can be very challenging. Now, if now that you already have a brand name, okay, what will this brand name evoke? That will help you to define how you do the messaging from that brand. So I come now for the brand name to messaging. After defining who you are and what you are as a brand, arguably the most important thing is what you say as a brand, how you say it. Therefore, messaging must be at the center of everything you do, both in written and in verbal form. Your brand messaging must be consistent. The consistent underlying value proposition that is applied to all your communications, both internally and externally, is what makes people to relate to you as a brand. By inspiring, by persuading, by motivating, by attracting, by ultimately retaining them either as customers, as friends, as that. You see, I tend to get invitations from time to time, in different programs, got invited. One of the recent ones I had to say no. I said, I'm not an itinerant preacher anymore. There's a time and seasons in the life of people. My brand at this point in time in my life circle is not itinerant. There are days in those days, come and preach in this church, come and preach in this church. I really don't do that anymore. It's very selective where you want to deal with leaders. So I've had cases now where, come and teach pastors at district levels, come and teach pastors at those. Then, so you as a brand, what are you sending out? Whatever you say, how does it in some way reinforce who you think you are? So your messaging must reflect that. Messaging what you communicate. And the tone of your voice. What are your tonality is important. Your brand tone of voice is attitude, which means your brand speaks to his audience. I'm not talking, you want to talk to a baby. You are using something that a baby can understand. If you are a baby product, there's a way in which, because baby products talk to two people. That's what some even manufacturers don't know, marketers don't know. A baby product must talk to at least two people. Number one, it must talk to the mother, and then we talk to the baby itself. So because there's a consumer, there's the one who takes a purchase decision. In the North, if you want to then advertise detergent, for instance, you also talk to two people. And many brands don't understand it. They begin to talk to women. Whereas, in the PUDA system in the North, it's men who take decision to buy. Women use. So, you talk to the man, and then you talk to this. And that was why, for those of you who are old enough, among the people listening to me, you will remember at the time when elephant, as the product was called, the house people were calling it, they were calling it giwa, something like that, that this is Omo with elephant power. And so then, because I was working in the brand team in fabrics, Omo, and we quickly had to, these people will take this blade from us because people like elephant. You say elephant power, they were in Yoruba, so we were in Hausa. We quickly had to now do two versions of Omo. We then had Omo with men for the North and Omo with women on the pack for the South. We then called they then called our Omo for that Omo Shinane. And they were calling Omo for the North, Omo Giwa. There was a way in which they were calling Omo for men because men were the one buying. So if we are talking to the women and not talking to the men, they won't buy our product. So in marketing, it's important to understand the consumer and the one who takes the purchase decision. So when you are doing that, that's why you talk about the tone of voice. What kind of voice do you use? And you move from there to the kind of trademarks. Trademarks that are creating your brand name, protecting your newly created asset. Is important for you to register that trademark to ensure nobody will creep into that. So in that same creation, developing your brand visual images. Brand visual image, the most powerful way to capture attention and bring brand recognition. These are icons. Your logo design should reflect the essence of your brand and the key elements that were built within the position and the creation phase. If done correctly, your brand image will encapsulate everything your brand stands for. It tells the entire story. It wants to convey to your target market what you truly are. It connects the brand's visual image and messages and human emotions all are connected at the right time and in the right place, and will be the key to its long-term success, how you actually do that. So when developing your logo, because logo itself is a specialized, vocation in which you develop logo. There are people who are experts in logo development. So when you do logo design, your aim should be to make it simple, enabling it to be quickly decoded through the human eye. So even in terms of typography, shape, colors, spaces must be combined to create, highly effective identity. Because what's important is an identity for this brand, and logo plays a very key role in that process. So certain visual characteristics can be more prominent, like color, boldness, and the way the tonality of even the colors. Your tagline should be an integral part of that logo, as it tells people who you are and what you stand for rather than just what you do. So, all these things get put together. So to ensure the integrity, and this issue of integrity is what I've just also been invited to speak about in one of our very big, one of our massive churches, integrity. So, but in the process, when you look at marketing, it's the same thing, even in integrity. It's to ensure the integrity of your brand identity. Guidelines must be in place to protect its application, explaining how your brand should be used both internally and externally. When I was the product manager for Vim Scorers, suddenly I found the sales of my Vim was so much in Minna and Sokoto. Suddenly, because we just put a perfume that was from lemon, a lemon perfume, on the Vim Scorers. So the sales just took off. So we then said, let's go and find out. Why is it? Because I'm talking about here, at that point, ensure the integrity and guidelines internally, how your brand should be used both internally and externally. What happened? I found they were using it as a powder for face. Vim. So I went to her to check. They were using Vim because of the scent, the perfume on it. For face, so they will rub their faces with Vim.
And it's already powder. It's already in powder
yes.
form, so it serves that purpose.
So the thing they were, we had to quickly develop advertising. That this thing can enjoy you doing that. It's for pants. They were used for a different purpose. That's why it's important in terms of when we need to send out message and tagline, what the purpose, what it is meant for. I think I want to now invite Mr. Anya. Can you take us through design, maybe the next step in branding?
Yes, before I do that, I want to add that when we create and then come into design, they have to work together. It's not when you have created a beautiful name or a name that is memorable and that is meaningful, then coming to design, the design doesn't match it anymore. It doesn't work.
Yes.
So both of them should work hand in hand.
That's right.
When the anchor was saying, my mind went to one alcoholic beverage with a beautiful name. So is the design too. If they call that brand, that name, and the logo wasn't as eye-catching as it is, I don't think that brand would have sold. So when we are creating and when we are designing, we make sure we match the two.
Yes. I want to go on a short break, and you continue with the design and the logo immediately after the break. So we're going on a short break, and we'll be back shortly.
Globally, businesses and corporations are faced with challenges that requires fresh thinking on strategy, leadership, and governance to survive. The Anchor is a program designed to help organizations and individuals to be skilled in handling challenges. Join Dr. Osare Emokai, a development economist and a corporate strategist, for this interactive, informative, educative program.
Mr. Anya, before we went on break, you were talking of design. Can you please continue?
Yes.
Yes.
I am saying that when we are designing, we have to match it with what we have created. Both of them work hand in hand. If we have created a very beautiful name that sounds so well, that is very, very reasonable, and then we come to design a poor logo, it doesn't work. So when we have created, we make sure what we have done match the other.
Yes.
As I will always say, when you create and design, take it out, let people assess it. Don't just go and use it for your brand. Otherwise, it might not sell. You are going to kill that brand. But let us talk specifically on logo and tagline design now. How should it be? It's because they are the core element of the brand identity. And when being developed, it must stay true to the company's values and ideas. For instance, a company that has a color scheme, you make sure that the logo follows that scheme. If I know of a company that uses green for some of their things, if it goes away from that scheme of green, it's not just any green. It has to be that particular color scheme. So when we are designing, we look at what is the company's culture in terms of color. It has to follow because that's the brand's identity. And your tagline also is an expression of your brand. It should be catchy and meaningful and underpin the overall position of your brand in a way that conveys the brand's character. So when we are choosing our slogan, logo or tagline, it shouldn't be like slogan that changes with every campaign. So we have this, as they are permanent, care should be taken so that it has to be in line with our company culture. Now, the next thing in that direction under design is graphic style. The anchor mentioned the typeface. Is it Times New Roman or whatever it is? We shouldn't deviate from what our company culture is. If it's Arial or whatever it is, it has to be in line in that direction because the logo and graphic style should be developed together to achieve the desired look and feel for the brand if we want the brand to be successful.
Now, I want to ask Mr. Ebi, what are your thoughts on this? As we're going to be bringing this to a close shortly, what are your thoughts on this, on what we have shared in terms of the process, particularly when you come onto colors, color scheme for your brand, and color scheme for a brand that outside company culture, there are also some cultural underpinnings of a society. Yeah. And sometimes a company can have a color predominantly of red. Yes. Whereas in some community, red can actually mean blood or death or something. And so when you or name, maybe you want to speak on that because I can still remember when I was a little involved with Honda, Honda vehicle. Yes. So I was involved with Honda and to build an image for Honda in Nigeria. So build an image and build to build, customers and bring customers to Honda. And when Honda, the Korean car, newly came into being. And so it was pretty tough, building that until there was this conference that I attended for strategic planning directors in the United Kingdom at that time. And all those of us who were involved with having to deal with Honda all over the world were all at that meeting. And we're giving our experiences of what across markets. But there was this lady that came in from New York who attended that conference. And she was telling us that that Honda name is having a problem also in America. So, because Americans don't like to die. He said, so when they had die, Said they won't buy this car. He said they had to call it Hyundai. He said they changed they removed it. Although it's there, they call it Hyundai. He said it was there, the product started selling. Don't you just see?
Yes.
Okay. So he said Hyundai. Oh my God. So that's what you call it now. He said we call it Hyundai. We don't call it Hyundai. Because people don't want to die now in New York. You know, he said that's the way they were able to do it. So maybe you want to throw some light on this. You know?
Thank you, sir. It's very interesting. It's sounding interesting,
Yes.
and taking the excitement and looking at it critically. It's very critical that when you are choosing your colors, the environment where you operate, you need to check out what are the colors. What does those colors represent? Blue in Nigeria or blue in, let's even look at the context of the country, maybe even states. There are some states like red, for instance, maybe in Ogun. I'm just giving an instance.
Yes.
Red signifies something else to those of us here in Lagos.
Maybe juju worshiper.
So you need to be careful when choosing your colors.
Yes.
What is acceptable in that climate?
Yes. Yes.
You need to
yes.
really clear that. And what is acceptable in that climate is telling you, okay, for me to just like what you said, people in the north were using this for
powder on their
powder
faces.
and all.
Yes.
But in this part of the world, in the
Southern part.
part, it's not like that.
Yes.
So we need to clearly define that to know what are the colors for. What does the color represent? What this color represent? What does it represent in the north? What does it represent? White. White in Nigeria, for instance, might just stand for something good, something beautiful, something. But in India, it's something different. White, maybe that's what they use for their funeral and all that. So you need to, is black also acceptable? So you need to really look at what does this color represent in that climb, and before choosing that color as a color for you to run with in your brand journey. Also, I also want to talk about Ms. Naya talked about it, glossed over it. I just want to further that, say that it's very key when you look at your character, graphics character, your graphic style. For instance, you want to communicate to children. There are characters, letterings that you need to put in place to choose when choosing those letterings that resonates with children, resonates with adults, resonates with youths. So you need to look at what are these graphic style you need to put in place to ensure that the target audience you want to communicate your message to are really getting it. Tagline also, like I mentioned, very important. Logo. What does your logo represent? You might, just like what you just said about the name of Hyundai on that. So you need to really define those elements.
So at the local level, whether it's a global brand or not.
Yes.
So at the local level, does that actually resonate with the people?
Yeah.
Does it resonate with the people? You know? So at the local level. So that is why, you know, some reason talk about go global, but do local.
Yes,
Because what a global name might not have an appeal as some cultures.
Yes.
So the Koreans were not prepared to change, but the Americans, who themselves were their communication people, you know. So it was then by Bacchus Pivot Girl based worldwide. That was the communication company. Bacchus Pivot Girl based worldwide. So, and it was at their meeting. We had a global meeting then in London. That then they don't brought us and what happened. So the issue of research is saying is that even when there's a global brand, still research it locally. You know, still research it locally. So to know whether it sits well with the local market. You know, even without changing that name. They still use that name, but they had to now be silent on the I. And the R at the back to be A. And they were now calling it Hyundai. So and people were the number, I don't call it Honda anymore. They changed the advertising from Hyundai to Hyundai. And when it became Hyundai, it could not compete with the other Korean cars and indeed even Japanese cars. And so today you find they have SUVs and have all those kinds of things in different parts of the world. It needed, because the biggest market then was in America. It needed to do that. So the issue of name, the issue of logo, the issue of tagline, all this must be in sync with one another and must be in alignment with the culture of the organization as well as the culture of the place. Things that are acceptable. It's like you spoke about white could be for funeral in some country, whereas black can be for funeral in some others.
Yes.
Okay? If you dress and wear a green suit, for instance, in a bank, they'll be looking at you. Are you a cocoa farmer? What are you doing? With expect to wear a black suit. And at the very minimum, maybe a deep blue suit. That's what they want you. You can see this man wearing blue suit. If I dress like they will not allow me to enter the bank, as a bank. But he can enter with his blue suit, dark blue suit. So there are those things, the way we dress, the way we do this. That is why when we're talking about branding of products, one of those individuals, I'm speaking to you individuals, how do you dress? How do you dress? When you even dress as a person, it's how you dress your address. So there's a way you will dress that somebody sees you even in the motor park, he will give you respect. Or there's a way you dress, they believe the dress of a harlot. And it's there in scriptures. In terms of branding, the way you dress your address, and that is what packaging plays very well in every brand. So that is where we want to bring the discussion to a close today. I want to thank you very much for being a part of this show. And we are hoping that as you participate during this program, you watch the anchor, that your life will be better, your business will be better, wherever vocation you are will be better. Even your own person as a brand, you will be a better person. You'll be a better person. So we have podcasts. You can view our podcast. Osare Emokpai, podcast. Thank you so much, everyone. Even the studio guys, I want to thank each and every one of you. We are indebted to you as well as those watching us. God bless you. Until I come your way again, goodbye and thank you.
Mindshare Communications Limited is a world-class marketing, communications, and branding consultancy firm located in Lagos State, Nigeria. We offer a wide array of consultancy and promotional services to corporate businesses and firms. Our services include strategic marketing activities, public relations, advertising, social media management, digital marketing, web development, brand development, marketing activation, strategic branding, market intelligence activities, and telecoms, ranging from CUG management to airtime vending. Call Mindshare Communications today to help you achieve your goals. For further information, please contact Abiola on 0807 739 0974. Send a mail to info@mindsharelimited.com or visit our website at www.mindsharelimited.com. Address 184A Kaduna Road, Crystal Estate, and Mowadofi Estate, Lagos.